Hello, this is Aoife Dean and this is the Happy Weight Podcast. Happy New Year to you. I am recording this in 2025. I hope you had an amazing Christmas. I hope you had a really lovely time and I hope you're excited about the new year. I think the coolest thing about January is all the manifestation stuff, like even on Instagram and everything. There's so much tools and tricks and shortcuts to manifesting and getting our goals, and all of that stuff is so exciting. So it genuinely is a very individual time that we could really change things for ourselves. Today's episode, I'm going to be chatting about, my journey with booze. And oh my God, I haven't been able to talk about drinking at all in a professional context pretty much up until this moment. Like in London, I was definitely living a double life. I was coaching clients on a very strict regime with the diet company I worked with at the time. And then meanwhile, getting flutered myself on evenings and weekends. So I wasn't being, I wasn't practicing what I preached basically at all, because I've always, kind of stuck to the food stuff. Alcohol or any kind of other addictions is just such a big topic that I'm not qualified to really help with it, So I've always stayed a little bit out of it, even with clients. But on today's episode anyway, I'm going to chat through the things that did work for me to help me cut down and then cut out booze. And then also what didn't work, the things I tried over and over again that never worked. And then also the pros of giving up drink and then the cons of giving up drink. And all of these points overlap with overeating. I suppose overeating and drinking have lots and lots of parallels. In my case, I suppose I have a lot of the symptoms of ADHD. So impulsivity is a thing for me. So with binge eating, there's massive drama. You're like, screw it. I'm just going to go to the shop and buy loads of food and eat loads. Or I'm going to order a massive takeaway. And it's very like impulsive. There's a very impulsive nature to it. And then the next day, I'm going to go on the strictest diet. I'm going to sign up for this. And then with drink, it's kind of the same because, I just loved being like a bee in a jam jar, just like full of beans, like getting drunk, nearly wanting to climb out of windows, scale buildings, whatever. I was, I could really be super hyper. And, I suppose part of me loved that. And also both of them, obviously, I suppose the biggest thing is they're an escape. So from whatever you're feeling, you don't have to feel it if you're drunk. And you don't have to feel it if you've just had a binge and now you're giving out to yourself, why did you do it? When are you going to change? Like both of those are escape tactics. So we can, use giving out to ourselves for what we ate yesterday or planning what we're going to do next to lose weight as a way of not really dealing with our real feelings and not really being in the present day and helping it. So I suppose just quick kind of summary of why I started it. I suppose I started drinking around 16 with my buddies. I would say I was very, very shy in all environments except with my friends. I have a lovely bunch of friends. We're still all mainly friends and I love them so much. And we had such a hoot in school and we had great crack. So I was fully myself always around them, I would say, but around everyone else, relations, working in Centra, like people from Drimoleague, anyone else, I think I was super shy and awkward and everything and not comfortable. And so then like around 16, I suppose we started drinking and knacker drinking, as we called it, and pre-drinking. So I suppose the thing there was only ever an association of like, you didn't step foot ever in a pub or a disco or a club with already being really drunk. So, that was the association. That was what we were practicing. That's all we ever kind of, I suppose, had, or for me anyway. Like I took the help of drink for sure, to get over all my social anxiety and shyness. And we went to a convent all girls school as well. And like the lads were the same. And it was the same in college as well in Edinburgh. Like you'd have all the crack with the lads on the night out. And then the next day, if you met them in Princess Street or whatever, they could barely make eye contact or, or say hello. And like they just didn't have a bit of confidence or, ability to talk to the opposite sex unless they were drunk. And I think it's kind of sad because at Irish weddings, I still kind of see that happen. Like, there's a lot of Irish weddings that a lot of people aren't up on the dance floor until they're very, very well on. So it goes from not dancing at all to going absolutely mental, and ties wrapped around their head or whatever. But I'm not judging. I'm just kind of saying like there is a better world for us possible. Like I kind of wish it wasn't in our history or something. But anyway, so then what it wrecked, I suppose. So I don't really remember my brother's wedding at all. I remember pretty much like the start of the Prosecco reception. I don't really remember anything else. Like I think I scored with a cameraman that night, like not cool stuff. And like that's the whole thing with this entire podcast. I know another version of me or people I know or whatever would be like listening to it being like, that sounds great, crack, Asher, there's nothing wrong with that. And like, yeah, look, there's nothing wrong with any of this, but like, I suppose it's all what you're comfortable with. And I wasn't really comfortable with any of that stuff. I wasn't really comfortable with how I felt the next day. There's another few friends' weddings as well. I don't remember them at all, like at all. There's hens I don't remember at all. There's really unsafe things I do, unsafe predicaments I put myself in. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to get too dark, but like, and there wasn't any major incident or anything, but like there was a pattern of behavior. And you could say as well, like, sure, you were in your 20s or whatever. That's normal for your 20s. But I don't know, just because things quieten down in your 30s or your late 30s, I suppose before I gave up drink, there was still like maybe once a month, once every 6-8 weeks where I would get properly drunk and just not like all the elements of it. So that's like a lot of the parts that I didn't like. So then on to, right, the next part I'm going to go on to is what certainly didn't work when giving up drink. Like, and what's really weird about what didn't work, cutting down on drinking or cutting out drinking, like they all overlap with cutting down on binge eating or cutting down on overeating or, ways of being with food that are not going to help your weight. And that was the thing. I suppose I fixed my relationship with drinking around 9 years after I fixed my relationship with eating. So with that, it was really helpful. Also, because I work in helping people with eating issues every day, I can be quite black and white about that won't work. Like, this is what you've always done. This is comfortable to do, but do not pretend it's going to get results. So I suppose the first one there that does not work is shaming yourself and feeling massive guilt. That's not going to work. And because of all that I know with coming out of my own bulimia, binge eating, being 3 stone heavier, whatever, I know that that's actually how you stay in the cycle. So there's a level of experience and education that you get with disordered eating or drinking that you're like, yeah, no, that's just a luxury. That's actually just being indulgent. Like if you're going to, fart around for the day, making yourself feel guilty and being ashamed of yourself and hanging your head in shame, yeah, do it, do it and do it because you've always done it or whatever. But don't pretend that that's you moving forward, because it's your reaction to stuff that makes the change. Because, people can overeat or overdrink or whatever, but like forgiveness will help you move on. Whereas like really drilling down and digging into your heels and saying like, well, I promised myself I wasn't going to do that. And then I done it. That old crack is just you really getting deep into, a chronic relationship with that thing. And, I know as well from people with like severe anorexia that I've worked with or morbid obesity, like their shame game is full on. So it doesn't work. It absolutely doesn't work. So that would be the first thing. Don't think you can shame yourself out of drinking. Like as in, I remember I'd be like, no, come on, add it up. How much did you have? You had the shoulder of vodka there. You had the glass of wine in her house. You actually had 2 or 3 glasses. Then you did this, whatever, and I'd be totting up how much I drank. And then I'd be, saying like, oh my God, that is so extreme. Like no one drinks that much. And I remember I used to do the same with food. I'd be like, oh my God, how much did you actually have? You had that whole takeaway and then you had all the crisps after it. Like that is a disgusting amount of calories. And so, like I said, no surprise, the other area of my life I had issues with drinking was the same. I'd do the same crack, like making it really extreme, making it really like, oh, no one acts like this. No one drinks that much. No one eats that much. And it's like, get over yourself. And what is this benefiting? Like, as in, it's happened. Now you get to be positive. Now you get to react differently so that you won't need this tool again. Because at the end of the day, drinking, overeating, it's an escape. And the meaner we are to ourselves, the more escape we need. So it's kind of like the more you're shaming and guilting yourself, like for me anyways, I suppose before I ever did any personal development and stuff, and when I used to really like double down hard on the shaming myself about what I ate or what I drank, it's like, okay, I could set my watch to it. Like I'd be back to eating or drinking the same amount, if not more, really soon, because you just need that escape. You'd need the escape from all the meanness that you're doing to yourself. So that doesn't work. Then the next one, and I'm actually cringing even mentioning this, talking about it or explaining it, or maybe even a bit of confiding in it to friends. Like, you know, with food anyway, I hope you've listened to enough episodes of this podcast that like you telling a friend your plans to cut out of food or be good next week. No one cares. It's super boring and it means nothing. The people who talk about giving up food are generally people with weight problems. People who don't have weight problems don't talk about food in that way, and they don't talk about scarcity coming. They don't talk about food going away or them not being allowed to eat it. That's disordered. So like, I just remember with food or with drink, I remember my friends' eyes glazing over because they'd heard it all before. They'd heard all my health kickstarting. They'd heard all my like, no, last night I actually, you know, I really was not happy with how much I drank. You know what? I am going to cut down. It's like, talk is cheap. Like, save your breath. Don't say any of those words. Don't bother boring your friend or whoever you're talking to about it. And do it or don't do it, but don't be talking about it. And don't be thinking that planning counts for anything, because it doesn't. Planning is not really an action. An action is only what you are doing in the present moment. So that's one that I would totally skip over. Like, oh my God, it's giving me such a cringe now thinking back on myself. And if I'm saying any of this right in a very harsh way, I really apologize. I really want to help anyone who's going through all of this. And the only reason I might be saying any of this bluntly is because I'm just thinking about if I could talk to my former self, I would just say things bluntly, probably to myself. Another thing that I did that did not work, and you couldn't do nowadays anyway, because you can pay with your phone, but back in London, like, I suppose what I do is I'd bring out a limited amount of cash so that I could only buy so much drinks. And then that's kind of like planning a restriction with food. Like, you know, the situation might call for eating a bit more, but that's not being disordered. Do you know what I mean? Like, you might be like, you will go there and you will eat one piece of pizza and that is it. And you could put that limit on yourself, but then actually maybe later you genuinely are hungry, or maybe there is a reason to have another piece of pizza and it's not disordered. And it was the same with drink. So that's how you kind of really are creating an identity of someone with a problem. Because say if I brought out a tenner or 20 quid or whatever, and I was like, once that is gone, it's gone. And then say, you know, I did need another drink or whatever. And then you don't have the money. And then you have to kind of go crawling around people for them to buy a drink. And it's just icky. So I don't know, maybe not everyone's as stupid as me to try that one. But I wouldn't try that one. It doesn't work. And then the next one is just having the idea that you're going to try and cut down. So, you know, everyone's at risk now in January. There's a lot of chat that way. Let's just try and cut down. And didn't work with me for eating. Didn't work with me with drinking. Like, you know, with eating, feeling like a fat girl trying to get slim is only ever going to keep eating like a fat girl. And yet again, fat is a feeling, not a size. I'm not being sizist or shaming anyone about their weight, but we can feel really fat and we can be going about our day making choices with food being like, here is me trying to get slim. And it doesn't matter because your general aura is that you're a fat girl. So then at some stage of the day or the week, you're going to find the calories to make sure that that story stays true, because your subconscious identity is you're a fat girl. So above all else, your subconscious and 95% of your actions will work really, really hard to maintain that story and maintain that belief. And so trying to cut down on drinking is the same. If you've got the identity of I am someone who drinks too much and I am trying to cut down, mainly the story you're going to keep proving is I am someone who drinks too much. So you're either trying or you're being. So that brings me on to the next category of things. So what did work for me? So don't try, just be. So even if you're being a non-drinker for an hour, even if you're being, just a non-drinker, like for an hour from like 7 to 8 p.m, you're going to be like a non-drinker. You're going to wear that uniform, play that caricature, or on like then when you're feeling braver, maybe you might go for 2 hours, you might go for a whole night, but you're just going to play the role, play the character of someone who's a non-drinker just for that hour, try it on for size. And it's the same with eating, because there's a huge difference between how someone without a weight problem eats and chooses food versus a dieter versus someone who feels fat and trying to get slim. And the main thing is there's no scarcity with the eating part of it. So it's not that, I shouldn't be eating that chocolate. I cannot allow myself the chocolate and then eating loads of chocolate later. Instead, you just be like, do I feel like chocolate? Is that a nice chocolate? Would I like the taste of that now? Would I like the feeling of that in my belly? Because you know what? I could always drive by that shop later and get the chocolate I really do like. Or, would I rather eat that chocolate actually later when I'm watching a movie? So you're being really, I suppose, independent, unique, bespoke to yourself, to your body, to the day, figuring out when would be the nicest time to have the food and when would be the best feeling time to have the food and when would be the best experience with the food. Whereas when you're in a restrictive place, it's like, you're not allowed it. You will not look at it. You will not have it. Don't even question it. We can be a bit like that. And like I said, it's the same for drink. That whole harsh approach, I think, just doesn't work with someone who's emotional first and foremost. Because if you have a very emotional day and it's like, and you're not allowed to have a drink, well, then that just seems like more punishment. So then it feels more freedom to have the drink. Which brings me on to the next one, which is make the prize of not drinking way bigger. Like make the incentive genuinely better. And this overlaps with eating as well, because it's kind of like, it got really important to me as I started building up the nights where I felt really nice going to bed, where I wasn't over full and I wasn't ruminating over calories. I wasn't beating myself up. I just felt very pleasantly, physically comfortable after my evening. And then waking up hungry or for breakfast, or waking up not overfed or not with a food hangover. That became such a lovely feeling that was the prize and losing it was a loss. And it was the same with drinking. And especially like what I've kind of noticed is that, especially at the start of the year, there's an awkward moment when everyone else is drinking and having more fun and you're feeling like you're not having more fun. But I think whatever that feeling is then multiplied 10 times over when you're driving home. Like when you're driving home and you're sober and you're proud of yourself, like whatever happiness you would have had with that like second gin kicking in, like the happiness is tenfold on the drive home, and the happiness is tenfold the next morning waking up fresh. And then I would just pile on the prizes, pile on the incentives. So it's kind of like that that 20 quid you would have spent on drink, or 30 or 50 or 70 or whatever, you're definitely going to get like a facial, or you're going to get a new top, or you're going to go out for dinner with someone, or like there just has to be lovely, lovely, lovely prizes, because improving your health and your mental well-being and your physical well-being, it is all about feeling better. So like you cutting out drink can't be like less good, basically. Do you know what I mean? Because like it can't be less good mentally or less good life-wise or day-to-day wise, because why would you do it then? Basically, what's the point? So, other incentives as well, like as in, when the world is asleep tomorrow morning at 8:00 on a Sunday, I'm going to take my doggy for a walk, and I'm going to get a latte, and I'm going to look out at the sea, and it's going to be lovely, and I'm going to have a special time or whatever. That's just mine. Obviously you could have your own, but like some really personal, lovely incentive. So that means drinking load tonight would actually steal that away from you. And that reminds me then, right, with food or with drink, those times that you successfully do get your hands on, that feeling where you're smug and sober driving home after the night out, or feeling crystal clear on a Sunday morning or whatever, or even with food that so cool lying in bed at 11:00 and you are not stuffed. Like it's Saturday night, it's 11:00 and you're not stuffed. Like that is such a cool feeling if you're not used to it. And whenever you acquire those feelings, like make a massive song and dance of it. Be like, oh my God, I love this so much. This suits me so much. Like don't let it go unnoticed. Like one of the issues with people with food, and probably with drink as well, but especially with food, right? Like as in they'll not notice 1,000 good behaviors. And then they'll have a Kit Kat and they'll be like, I can't believe I had the Kit Kat. I can't believe it. What is wrong with me? And it's like, they won't even acknowledge the other 100 things that they could have eaten today and that they didn't. Or they won't even acknowledge the time that they did go to bed early, or that they did go for a walk. They won't acknowledge any of those things. They'll just be like, yeah, so what, I went for the walk. I should be going for 7 walks or whatever, So now to change your results, we have to change your focus. That saying, what you focus on expands. So it's like, oh my God, I love feeling fresh on a Sunday morning. I love being hungry for my breakfast. I love having a clear mind. I love feeling fresh on Sundays. Like whatever the reward is, like really make a huge deal of it anytime you even get a sniff of it. Even that, like say, even if you drank 1 glass of wine less. And actually that's bringing me back now. I suppose another thing I did was fake it till you make it. So if your usual run of events is feeling guilty and noticing the too much, a major change with eating and drinking is you notice what you didn't have. So, you're like, oh my God, well done, because you totally could have got another beer from the fridge, but you didn't. Like, that's so cool. Imagine that one less beer for, every 2 weeks for a year. That's so much less drink. Or the same with food. It's like, oh my God, you totally could have got the ice cream from the fridge. You totally could have just, thrown the baby out with the bathwater at all, like completely, but you didn't get that one last totally needless thing. You didn't get it. So like, what does that mean? Like if you multiply that out over multiple nights, over multiple weeks, multiple years, that's so much less stuff. So yeah, you basically focus in and reward and celebrate yourself for the things that you did do that were positive, and the things that you didn't do that you could have done that would have been more negative. So that's what doesn't work, what does work. And then I'll come on to, right? So the cons of not drinking. So I would say the number one con of not drinking is you're definitely less crack for other people. Like other people would definitely be more comfortable if you drank. Like there's no doubt about it. Like they're having a drink. It'd be nice if you had a drink. So that'd be nice. But I suppose I'm at the stage now of I'd actually feel like I'm being a human sacrifice. Like if I made myself like have a drink now just for someone else's comfort, like that's really, what would you say? Like it's really like disowning myself. It's really disowning my needs, dishonoring my needs, you know, it's not something I'd be comfortable with. And another thing, like, I don't know, does this happen to everyone? But I got like kind of nightmares, and I still kind of get them on and off of being drunk, basically. So what's so weird is that my normal life once upon a time is now a nightmare. Stuff like I'm suddenly drunk, or I'm walking home alone, or I'm asking my friend Granny what happened last night. Like, all of those things were like common occurrences. And now I'm just kind of like, I actually have nightmares about them, and wake up being like, oh shit, did I start drinking again or whatever, you know? So for me now, like, God, not a hope would I have a drink for the sake of someone else being more comfortable. Like, as in, and maybe it's all the personal development I do and working with people every day on them bettering themselves. But like, I just wouldn't do it to myself. Like, I'm not willing to throw myself under a bus anymore, because overeating, binge eating is constantly throwing yourself under a bus, like, as in, or even following diets. Like, you're just kept apart from nice feeling, nice tasting foods, and you're kept apart from nice feelings in your body. And then you have a cheat day, and you are also kept away from feeling nice in your body. And people without weight issues get to feel nice in their body every day. But when we're dieters and overeaters, like, we have to feel kind of mank or lethargic or restricted or hard done by all the time. And it's like, I've just had enough for one lifetime. So yeah, I've probably more than covered that one now. Number two is that I suppose there's some situations that, like, a sparkling water or a Heineken Zero don't really cut it. So, like, I suppose if you're going to like a painting and a Prosecco evening, or if you're going to a pottery and wine night, or, you know, going for hot ports in a little old man's pub at Christmas, like, they're things that are really 50% drink related. So if you're having a soda water or whatever, and really at this point now, I wouldn't care. I genuinely wouldn't care. But I suppose, again, it is the little thing that, like, well, that's not really the full experience for your friends then, is it? Do you know? And another one, I suppose, having a glass of wine on holidays with your dinner. You know, like, if you're on holidays with your partner or your friends or whatever, and, you know, that's a pretty standard holiday thing to do, to have a glass of wine every night on holidays or whatever. And then, you know, they're having the wine and you're not. I suppose you feel, just again, I suppose you feel like you're letting people down a bit. But I suppose, you know, from my experience anyway, yeah, maybe I'm letting them down a bit. But the same people in my life now that, you know, might just be like, it's pity Aoife isn't having a glass of wine or whatever. They also had to put up with me on nights where I was talking absolute beans, you know, really hoarding the conversation, going on monologues, running off. I did a lot of running off when I was drunk. I remember one time, it's so bad now to think of it, I don't know how my friends are still my friends, but like, my friends came over to London to see me, and on one random stop on the underground, I got out and I ran off. And sure, like, they didn't even know London. They came over to visit me, but like, I just thought it was all great crack, you know? So that's the other side of it now. I'm like, well, not having a hot port at Christmas in the old man's pub is definitely less uncomfortable than me being a total wagon all the time. And then I suppose bonding on drunk stories and bonding in general. And like, so bonding on drunk stories, I kind of think I've enough drink related stories in my lifetime that I can bond with everyone forever on that. Like, I was thinking, even when my nephew Rian, you know, is older and he has his first drink, like, I think I'll still be able to like level with him and get it, and, do you know, all the rest of it. So I suppose I can bond on drunk stories, but I'm not still creating funny drunk stories from the wedding last weekend or whatever, do you know? So sometimes that's kind of missing out, I suppose. And then the other thing is bonding in general with people. You know, sometimes when you're a glass of wine or two in, you're chatting about stuff that you wouldn't normally chat about. But to be honest, that's also a little bit of an ick with me, and and one of the things that was kind of why was another attractive element for me, giving up booze because I hate how fake it is. Like I hate how fake it is. Like, you know, I don't know, chatting to relations or friends or people you meet at the bar and having these big, deep heart to hearts, or even girls in the toilet or whatever, and being super over emotional and super, you know, oversharing. And it's all fake. Like the next day or when you meet them again sober, you've nothing. There is no relationship. Like the relationship is purely based on being tipsy. And that's just an ick for me. Again, it's just so inauthentic. And then, do I have another one here? Oh yeah. Pros, the pros are definitely, confidence. So I suppose, you know, if I felt a bit shy, take a drink. If you felt a bit awkward, take a drink. If you didn't fancy this guy enough, take a drink. If you were running out of things to say, take a drink. If you feel that you weren't really gelling with the person, take a drink. Like there's so many situations where it's kind of like, another drink would fix this. And after a year of not drinking, I'm kind of like, I didn't have that life support. Like I couldn't reach for that. So then you're just like I'm anxious, take me or leave me, or I'm in a really boring mood, or I've nothing to say. Yeah, I'm no crack today. And, you know, because you can't change it, you can't drink your way out of it. You just kind of get used to like, well, you're going to have to take me or leave me. Or, you know, if I go to a house party and I'm not really on form or whatever, I'm like, well, you know, just turning up and being there, you know, maybe I'm not going to be Bozo the clown doing the worm or anything, but like, you know, I'll just be another version of myself. I'll be the version of myself that's kind of quiet or shy or anxious. Like that's it. That's all I've got. Do you know? So you because of that, then I suppose the flip side of it is you're more confident all the time because you accept the reality of whatever mood you're in. And the good part of that then is that if you are like an absolute, like, you know, you're in a mood for absolute mischief on a Monday morning, you're up for mischief. Like you don't have to wait for it to be in a club at 11 o'clock at night or at a wedding at 1 a.m. to do mad shit. Like you just do it whenever you want because you're consistent. You're never less sober. You're sober 24/7, 365 days of the year. So if you want to do mad stuff, you just do it as and when, and you accept the times that you're anxious or shy or whatever. And you get used to not trying to wriggle your way out of that or trying to escape from it. And another pro with that is that, you just call things early. Like as in, like, I think there was so many nights that, like, I don't know, maybe a night out wasn't needed, or maybe we'd had a lovely time and you could just call it a night now. But I was always like, no, things need to escalate. We need to make this the best night of our lives and it must never end. And like the reality of it is I was bored. And the night was over. And if you would just be honest with yourself, you'd be like, yeah, great night had by all, let's go. Because if we try and flog a dead horse now and just drink our way into crack, like it still won't be more of a crack night. So now I just call things. If I need to go, I go, and you know, it's class because you can drive if you're sober. So I'm just not going to endure things. I don't have to endure things. And like I said, I don't have to be Bozo the clown doing the worm. Like, you know, I can just be in the mood I'm in. And if the right call for me is going home, I go home. And they're all things that I couldn't have done before. And then your emotional management. So I remember in London, especially, I remember there was one night, I don't know why it always stands out in my head, but like work was really tough in the company I worked for. There was so much pressure put on me and the rest of the dietitians. It was real high pressure stuff, high paying clients, celebrities, the whole shebang. And I remember like getting on to my friend Gillian and being like, come on, let's go out and clap him tonight. It was Friday night. And I was like, I want to get blackout in like the quickest amount of time. So I couldn't like deal with the stress. I couldn't sit with the stress. I couldn't sit or hold space for any kind of a negative emotion. I couldn't let that negative emotion really be in my body for any amount of time, really. And I suppose that's why I started binge eating when I was 14. I think I was lonely coming home from school at 4:30. All my brothers and sisters were gone to college. And sorry, this isn't a tiny violin story, I promise. And my parents would be out at work and then out at meetings that night. So I suppose I had 6 hours, on my own before bedtime. And I was just lonely, but I couldn't identify that emotion. And I didn't know how to sit with a negative emotion or and you can't sort out an emotion if you don't know it's there. So I just binge. And so with drinking, it was the same. I couldn't, rationally be like, right, okay, Aoife, when did things get stressful this week in work? When did you start turning a corner and experience kind of burnout? And what were you telling yourself that wasn't helping? I couldn't really do any of that coaching and self-analysis. I didn't have any of those tools. So I experienced a strong emotion and I'd get drunk on a Friday night. That was it. And then, of course, you're off to a worse start than the next week. So I feel my emotional management now is way, way, way more tuned up. The fourth one is clarity. So I read this amazing book, and thank God I actually had forgotten the name with weeks and it's just come to my head, The Sober Diaries. And I really recommend it if you are sober curious. It was like a Chelsea mom, and I worked with a lot of Chelsea moms for years, and I lived in Chelsea and all the rest of it in London. So I really understand that Pinot Grigio lifestyle. And that woman was a total, almost under the radar alcoholic. And she was interesting and she was good crack and all the rest of it. And, that's not something I'm interested in. You'd never want to give up drink and then be a bore or whatever. So anyway, that was a book that really resonated with me. And I think it's really brilliant. But there's absolutely no denying it. Believe all the hype, the clarity that comes from not drinking is ridiculous. I'm only 365 days off drink or whatever. I don't know what the future holds, but so far so good, basically, that it's also more than the sum of its parts. Do you know what I mean? It's not just oh, yay, another Sunday when I wasn't hungover. There's something that builds up to an even better result or something, being off it for an extended period of time. And in that book, The Sober Diaries, she talks about the pink cloud effect. And, I think that's, basically kind of beginner's luck. It's all great crack. And then you hit hard points, which is the same with any behavioral change. It's the same with improving or eating and becoming slim as well. But, you hit those hard points. But to be honest, I feel there of course was hard parts, but I was mainly pink clouding it because just the biological difference of not having a central nervous system depressant, however you slice it and dice it, alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. You are creating and opting for a little bit of depression whenever you drink. So, that's such an obstacle because life is already hard enough and we already have enough stress or whatever. So to then be adding a depressant on top of us already maybe trying to improve our happiness or our life or whatever, removing that extra challenge or obstacle is huge. I think it's really, really huge. And then money is another nice one, that frees up a lot of money. I went to a wedding there lately with my friend Jess, and it comes to a point where you're plenty hydrated. You don't need another, soda and lime. You don't need another Heineken Zero. You're grand. You're well hydrated. So, you're just coasting. You're spending the night on the dance floor or whatever, and you're not spending any money. And it's that would have been so much money before, for me. And now I just kind of think there's a great book on money by Kate Northrup, Money, A Love Story. And then there's all the stuff by Ken Honda. He's got a book called Happy Money. And it's funny because their philosophies with money are the same with my ones with eating. Eat foods of value to you, say there's after eights here in front of me, and they can be of value to me, they taste really good to me. There might be a time that I feel well after them, that's important to me. Same with all the foods I eat in my diet. Each individual one is important at the time, mentally or physically. But I suppose the difference between when I was in a bad place with food was there was bad days and bad weeks where I was just eating willy-nilly. Like, didn't matter what stuff tasted like, didn't matter how my belly felt. And that's what causes weight problem. And like Ken Honda and Kate Northrup say the same with money. It's not like not buying yourself gorgeous stuff. It's just that like, if you're kind of spending a lot of money on stuff that isn't aligning with your values, and me being hungover and depressed for 2 to 3 days and spending 100, 200 euro on that was not me spending money that was aligning with my values at all. So that's another super positive. And then I forgot another little tip for what worked, and it might be a nice one to end on. But whether it comes with, you're improving your relationship with food and where you want to go with your food and your health and your weight, or whether you want to improve where you're going with your drinking and your relationship with drink, always come from a place of curiosity. Because curiosity is a first cousin to love. Like, curiosity comes from a Greek word, to care. And ultimately us getting to a better place with eating and our weight and our health and our alcohol consumption is us showing we care. Like, we actually do want a better life for ourselves. We want a better life for our body. We care. It's coming from a place of love. And when you're coming from a place of love and you're coming from a place of curiosity, like I said, like, hey, why don't I just play the character of, going to that tonight as a sober person, going to that tonight as someone who is not interested in drink, never really liked to drink, whatever, just playing that role for a little while. And you're just being curious. And it's always, of course, the same with food. Like, as in, you could try these after 8 now to be like, where does this rank in terms of my top 10 chocolates? Like, do I love it the most? Does it rank at all? And it's the same with drink. You're just being curious. Like, I'm curious, would I feel better, if I even changed to a different drink, or, if I did go home at that time or whatever. You're just trying things out. And so I kind of think when you're coming from a positive place of curiosity and bettering yourself, failure isn't an option. You're not looking out for failures. It's actually more like the Tesco slogan, every little helps. Like, as in, if you had one night 2 weeks ago where you were sober and it was a bit of crack and it was actually a bit of an insight in how things could be in the future, or if you were at a restaurant and you ate in a really cool, normal way, you ordered the main meal that you did want and you ate an amount that was comfortable and tasted lovely. And if you got dessert, you got a bit of dessert, and you ended up leaving the restaurant feeling lovely, not overfed, not guilty. It actually doesn't matter what happens after that. It doesn't matter if since that happened, since the sober night happened, you've been drunk since, or since that lovely time at the restaurant, you've overeaten since. That's irrelevant. Like, what's important is that, that's another piece of the jigsaw. Like, that really suited you that night. That really suited you. That really was quite fun. Like, how cool would it be if that started happening 2 more times in the month and then 3 more times in the month? But when people are in a negative mindset, they're like, I am going to go off bread or drink for 30 days. And, so yet again, it's putting an emphasis on plans in your head rather than real life and today. And like, plans account for nothing. And then it starts this failure cycle of, you're like, I'm going to go off it for 30 days. And then say if you break it, you're like, oh my God, back to square one. I'm a total failure. And it's like, no, that's not helping your well-being. Like, that kind of reaction and that kind of way of treating or talking to yourself is no help to anything. It's not a help to your physical health, your relationship with drink or food, your mental health. Like, looking out for failure and looking out for reasons to give out to yourself and looking out for reasons why you're not doing it well enough or fast enough or like other people, that you really have to close the door on all of that now. And like, have more of the mentality of, okay, let's build on what I have. Maybe it's not ideal. Maybe it's not perfect, but you know what? Here is where I am and here is where I'm changing from. And we don't need to compare ourselves. It doesn't matter a hoot where everyone else is with their eating and drinking. We just want to work on our individual selves, because the things that work for us, the things that feel good, the things that make it easier for us to not drink tonight and have a great time, they're going to be unique to you. So we just don't need that judgment. So yeah, I hope you found this episode helpful. Like I said, that Sober Diary book really helped me. I didn't follow a load of stuff on social media about Sober Curious, but there was one video on Instagram and the woman had given up drink. And one of the questions from the audience was like, but aren't you really bored now without nights out? Or, you know, aren't you bored more often basically without drinking? And her answer really surprised me and it really stuck with me, because her response was, no, I realize now I was bored all the time back then. Like, I was not creating a life that really suited me or was loads of fun. I was actually more like in boring situations that I had to drink my way out of, or the only crack in my life was drinking. And so like that really stuck with me, because it just makes more sense to create a life that's, you know, naturally pleasant, like working on ways to have more fun in your life, have more crack, have more reward, and absolutely avoid situations where the only way they could possibly be good is if you drank. Like, if there's a situation that it could only be good if you were drinking, well then maybe it's not a good situation. So yeah, hope today's episode helps. You know, my website is happyweight.ie. I have a great online course as well if you are struggling with food. It's the Happy Hypno Weight course. It's €99 for a lifetime membership to that. And catch me on social media, TikTok and Instagram and Facebook at Happy Weight Aoife. And thank you so much for listening. Okay, take care.